Hi guys, Dennis here from Denny Bob's RC Construction. Hey, I'm working on a special project for the show coming up in November. Hopefully I can get it done, which shouldn't be a problem, but um, I'll kind of go through. I'm building a conveyor and a dump hopper and a catch hopper, and I'll kind of show you what I've been doing and kind of take you along for the ride, so to speak. So welcome back to the channel for those who are revisiting, and if you like what you see and you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Here we go. Well, what I'm doing is I'm building a big hopper that we can drive underneath and get loaded, and then I'm building a conveyor to feed it. And I'll kind of show you. Here's my drive roller. Made that out of brass. It's a 1-inch diameter brass. Had to drill and tap for some set screws. I'm using some 1/4 inch. I'm using some old Actobotic stuff, and unfortunately I can't get the parts again for them. I've got some extra gears and spare parts, but unfortunately most of the stuff I'm using is obsolete. I've been trying to find a source for the stuff, but anyway, I got a bearing here. I had to shim my ring and pinion gear to get that all set. And I've got a bearing there, a bearing on the inside, a bearing there, and another bearing on the outside. I haven't fastened everything yet. I'm nowhere near done, but I'm going to build covers to go over top. And then I might even put a greaser on it and pump this full of grease when I get all done. These gears do not like to run dry. I tried that one time and they didn't run for very long. So I've tried some brass gears, and the brass gears don't work too good. One of the things I have seen guys do, and they'll run the 90-degree gear motors, and I've tried that with very little success. They just don't seem to have the speed or the power that these big robot zone. This one's a 612 RPM because I want this conveyor to run pretty fast to try and keep the hopper that we're going to load into with a wheel loader and try to keep it that full. And that is this is just ABS plastic. I made the hopper out of it. I'm going to make some braces. This is all glued together. I'm going to make some braces yet to kind of just so that that glue doesn't separate. I'll make a couple of braces and it's nowhere near finished, but this is kind of how I set my conveyors up so that I have plenty of power. These really are really good motors, but like everything you buy that may be made in China, I always pack these planetary gear drives full of grease before I start. Don't want a premature failure down the road. And then I just made some cross braces. I've got a flat plate that the conveyor will run up against. That'll go down in here, and then the conveyor belt will run along that. That way material stays in it. I actually made this conveyor a little bit taller, so above the belt I'll have 3/4 to almost an inch above, so it's carry material. And I may on here put another belt on top, because I'm hoping when I get around to making the conveyor belt, which I'll make that out of treadmill belting, I'll have to measure what I need for total distance, and then I'll make the belt and splice it, put it together. I've got another video where I've kind of covered that, and I may make a video on how I do that in the near future, because I'm going to probably be making a belt for it on the next day or two, maybe even tonight, or maybe this weekend. I do make a tensioner roller. This is cetyl plastic. It's really hard. I've got a bearing at each end as it's for this tensioner to roll. These are my tensioners. This is some more Actobotic stuff. I actually drill and tap holes in here, so I'll have my adjusting rod for belt tension that'll come out here. I'll have a plate that sits across here with 2 holes and some nuts and long threaded 632 threaded rod that I have. I haven't gotten that far. I'm just kind of, this is a mix match. This one here is a mix match of metric bolts and American standard because that's what I had on hand. I was going to put some clearance holes on the side, but I made the belt drop far enough that it does have room to drop material out if it does happen to get in between. Usually when this tensioner is out, any material that gets in there will slide out the slotted holes on the end. I'll make a scraper for this roller too. When I get around to putting this plate in, this will be super close tolerances here, so it'll actually use this plate to keep material from building up on the roller. I kind of knurl the roller to give it some what I want to call it, give it some grip on the belt. Some different guys have said, glue some rubber to it. Well, I've had the glue come loose, and then the rubber rolls, and then the rubber piece starts floating around in there and then gets jammed in the belt and then stops the belt from moving. So I'm trying to avoid that. I've actually tried some friction tape or grip tape and glued it to the roller because it's self-adhesive. Made a smooth drive roller and glued that on there, and I've had that over time fall off, and then again it falls around in the belt, either gets jammed up here or gets jammed down there and stops the conveyor. So I'm trying to avoid doing mistakes that I've already had or already done. I did take and Loctite all my set screws. I've got some bolts to run here for this bearing that's on the inside, and that bearing should stay in place with that set collar here, and because these bearings are a press fit into this housing. But I've got two bearings here, two bearings here, two bearings here. So on my drive, can't ever have enough bearing support. It's probably way overbuilt, but that's the way I do things sometimes. I'm gonna grab my other, where's that at here? The bench is an absolute mess. I've got plans, and I just got some parts in. This is going to be the gate for underneath the hopper. I'll have dual linear actuators along the sides, opening and shutting the gate to dump material out of the hopper. I'm trying to keep this as much head clearance as I can, so I can get some bigger trucks. I got a 12-inch opening. Basically, it's probably about 11, 10 and a half, 11. Most of your trailers and Tamiya trucks and trailers and dump trucks are only 7 1/4 to 7.5 inches wide. This might even be big enough to get one of my my big articulated ADT Volvo A40G in there, and I should have enough clearance that I can drive underneath it with it and dump and load onto that too as well. The hopper is pretty good sized. It's a 12 by 12 by 12 by 12 by 8, and then I have the tapered bottom. So this is a lot of material by the time I get it heaped up here, and I'll have the conveyor up here to feed it. I'm going to make some bracing and whatnot, and hopefully I can get this all braced together so that I can carry it as one component. That's the hope anyway. We'll see how it goes, but it's kind of been an ongoing project this week. I started it Monday, it's now Friday. Working on it a little bit every night. Getting parts ordered, figuring out what I want to order. A lot of Amazon trips have stopped at my house. A lot of this stuff is Servo City stuff, but unfortunately Servo City, and maybe it's Actobotics, went and does no longer producing parts. Now it's called Go Builda, and I always liked the Actobotics stuff, and I stocked up a lot of parts to make different conveyors and different types of things, but unfortunately they've gone to Go Builda now, which it's all metric stuff. It would be, instead of 1/4 inch shaft, it'll be 6mm shaft, or I can go with hex drive shafts if I want to, but I can't make a hex hole in my drive roller, so I got to stick with the round. I got an end mill and a couple of lathes and kind of do some of my own machining. I didn't have a drive hub for this. This actually bolts to this hub. This ring gear does. Unfortunately, I didn't have any hubs, and they're not making them anymore. So I actually had to go and machine and build my own hub, and drill and tap it from the end, and get the gear on there. So it's taken me a little longer to do this because I do like this process with the ring and pinion gear. This motor may be too fast. I don't know. I've used some 312s, I think, on a few. And they're okay, just not quite fast enough for me. And this should have plenty of power. This conveyor is about 4 foot long. But I had to make it that long to kind of keep my angle. So that'll be way out here. And then I'll build a dump hopper that I can pull up to with a wheel loader and dump into, and it'll fill that. That's the plan anyway. I got aluminum laying all over the place. Different pieces, different sizes. I got to get this fastened up underneath, but I know how I'm going to fasten it. I'm just going to kind of get all my linear actuators, and I've got dual pole, double throw switch. It's a 3-position switch. One way, middle is off, up is one way, down is the other way. I wish it was momentary, but then I started thinking, well, the linear actuators have a stop built into them. They'll be the ESC style, but I'll just run 12 volts to them one way or the other. I don't need a speed controller, just a switch to open and close them. I'm not sure it's going to all work yet, but that's the plan. I got some 4-inch stroke cylinders, and I want to get them on here and mounted to open and close this. I'm not sure how I'm going to mount everything yet, but it is what it is. Just kind of figured I'd kind of show you guys a few things of what I'm working on lately. But yeah, that is 2 foot tall hopper, so that's a 4 foot conveyor, so it'll probably be almost at a 45 degree angle, probably up to get in here and feed, maybe a little bit higher. But I am actually going to put some tall paddles on this conveyor to help carry material up. Probably just some scoop paddles to keep material moving. And then we're going to be doing chrome rubber at the show. That stuff flows pretty easy, pretty lightweight, not much work to it. The only problem with that chrome rubber, it's almost like wet sand sometimes. It gets stuck into places and builds up. That's why I do put a scraper on here to kind of keep material from building up on the idler roller, and I get it so close that it doesn't build up on the drive roller up there. They tend to keep a little material on the inside, but that's kind of why I've depending on how tight this gets, I'll have a little hole here that some of this stuff can escape out at the bottom. And the chrome rubber stuff, chrome rubber, the nice thing about that, it does pack pretty good. As far as, if it gets in here, it doesn't build up a lot and cause, excess tension on the belt. Where dirt or wet dirt will get in here and it can wreak havoc on stuff. But this one's going to be kind of an indoor deal for now. Maybe next summer I can get it out and play with it in the real dirt and see how well it works. But I'm just building it for an indoor show now. But I think that show is 5th, 6th, and 7th of November in Dubuque, Iowa. So that's where I'll be, and I'll have my drive over pits and all kinds of different things I'm going to try and bring. Load up my unclosed trailer and go to the show. I'm not going to bring as much stuff as I normally do, but anyway, guys, kind of showing you what I'm working on at the moment and bringing you along kind of for the ride. I'd like to do how-to videos and stuff like that, but I'm just kind of showing you what I'm doing. The one thing with the how-to video step-by-steps, it takes me 3 times as long or 4 times longer to build this stuff. Okay, I got a speck of dirt. Yep, probably grease or mud, not dirt. Whatever. There, it's gone. But anyway, there. Hope you kind of found some of this kind of informative and helpful if anybody wants to do something like this. But catch you guys later.